Good evening and welcome to this evening's Key Stage 4 Information Evening. Welcome to Year 10 and Year 11 parents. This evening it'll be myself and Mr. Rolt here talking you through not only what your child's experience will be like currently in school, but also the things to look forward to over the next 2 years or indeed the next year, and how you can support your children through the next stages of their education here. I'm going to turn the video off and I'm going to run through the PowerPoint presentation. As I said before, there is a chat function. If you want to ask any questions, please do put things in the chat. As Mr. Rolt is speaking, I will be using a different computer to try and answer as many questions as possible. And I will say on the last slide, if there's any in particular things that are personalised to your child, there is the option to also email the heads of year who will be available from after this presentation to answer any questions you might have as well. So inside school at the moment, your children are working very hard on our teaching and learning strategy. We at school, all the teachers in the school are saying that we will make sure that we provide a clear learning journey in lessons for your child. So over the time they're with us, they will know what there is expected as the outcome of the work they're doing in classrooms, and the teacher will take them on that journey, giving them the bigger picture as we go through. The routines will be consistent across the classrooms. We will try to hook students in to make them curious and excited about their learning. We will try and develop students who can work independently and who are resilient as well in the classroom. We want to empower the students to know where they're at and what they need to do to move on, and that means they're going to need to develop good communication skills with their teachers to understand what they need to do, any misconceptions in their learning, and address those possibly independently, and to ensure that they make progress across time, across the time they're in the subjects, making sure that they are acquiring knowledge as they go through their courses, and they're able to write about that and answer questions in detail when they come to their GCSE examinations. The teaching and learning strategy in school, when your child is in lessons, there is always a do it now activity. The teacher will try and meet students at the door, or students will come in, sit down, and there will be an activity ready for them, ready to go, so that no learning is lost at the beginning of lessons. And teachers will ask students, or will tell students, what the bigger picture is for that particular subject, so they'll know what skills and knowledge they're going to need for that area, so they can go and practice them at home, but also practice them in the classroom. There is a getting involved stage where we want everyone to enjoy the learning. We will tell students what activities we are doing in the lesson, and we will ask them to contribute to the lesson the best they can, whether that will be helping with reading or answering questions, or doing what we call flip learning and helping to plan the lessons that they're going to be involved in. And then there is the reflection and improvement stage as well, where we will provide feedback to your children about their work. We will do that regularly. We will correct any misconceptions in learning, and we will hope that children engage with this process and make the necessary changes to their learning. And we would ask that you guys at home, who are just as important as ourselves in school, and the children, will be able to monitor and make sure that children have every opportunity at home and have all the resources they've got to become independent learners. So I'm going to pass over to Mr. Rolt, who is going to talk in detail about how you can support your child for the next 2 or even just this year in understanding the level of courses that are available post their time here at Carrington School, knowing what the requirements are for college, being aware of workload issues and how to support children through this process. It can be quite a difficult process for young people, and young people obviously through COVID haven't had necessarily the schooling that other cohorts may have had, so how to spread that workload and manage their time, and how to be aware of the variety of revision and work strategies there are available in order to support your child.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to look now and I'll talk through basically Key Stage 4. So I'm going to start with the levels of qualification that your children are doing at Key Stage 4 here, and what that actually means in terms of moving on into colleges. So GCSE at grade 4 or above is a level 2 qualification. BTEC at a level 2 pass is a level 2 qualification. So when students get 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, the colleges count that as them. What's that? Start again from what, from now? Right from the beginning.
Sorry, apologies there. We've had a bit of a technical issue and realised that people have not been invited into the workshop, so we're going to start again. Apologies for that. Thank you. Welcome to the Key Stage 4 information evening. Myself, Mr. Lockhart, and Mr. Rolt are here to talk you through what your children are currently experiencing in school and what we're expecting from them. And Mr. Rolt is going to talk to you about all the things that you as parents can do, parents and carers can do to support children through the next 2 or even 1 year as they progress through their education here at Carrington and on to the next stages of their learning. So inside school, we have a very clear teaching and learning strategy. We hope to provide a clear learning journey for young people as they go through their courses here at school, where they know what the big picture is, what they're acquiring knowledge for, and how they're going to use that knowledge for their exams. We provide routines to be consistent and effective across the classroom. So we have particular classroom management techniques and the way we use our learning strategy to make sure that children know exactly what's expected in their lessons and what they can expect from teachers in terms of marking and feedback. We aim to hook the students in and make them curious about their learning. We want to make sure that students become independent learners and thinkers and are able to use the skills that they acquire in the classrooms and use them across subjects. We want to empower students to know where they're at and what they need to do to move on. So by providing high quality marking and feedback, allowing children to know what they've learned and what they need to do to improve to make the necessary progress in lessons. And we also want to make sure that they make progress across time. So staff will be assessing regularly children, addressing any misconceptions in their learning and providing a really good platform for them to move on and acquire further knowledge. Our teaching and learning strategy, when children come into classrooms, they will have a do it now activity from the second they walk through the door. So that will be an activity almost like a warm-up to get them ready for the learning that goes on. That might be something that they've learned from a previous lesson, or it might be something that they're going to learn in future lessons. We will then be talking to students about that bigger picture, giving them the framework, the roadmap to where their journey is headed, so they know what skills and knowledge they're going to need for the area of study. We will have get involved activities. We want everyone to enjoy their learning and become actively involved in their learning, not just sitting passively to members of staff talking at the front of classrooms. We want them actively engaged and involved in that learning. And we want them to reflect on their lesson and improve on their work. So we will be giving regular work feedback. We will ask children to read through the work they've done. We will address any misconceptions and give them further activities in order to improve their learning. So Mr. Rolt is here this evening to talk to us about how, as parents, you're able to support your children through the next part of their learning. Mr. Rolt is going to talk to you about understanding the levels of courses available post time at Carrington. For year 10 parents, this might seem a little way off, but I'm sure the year 11 parents will tell you it comes around very quick, this process, and children in year 11 are already thinking now about their college courses. Knowing what the colleges are asking for children so that we can manage expectations from what we might expect young people to achieve. Talk to you about workload for students as well. The next 2 years can be a very, very busy time for young people. So how we manage that workload over the time that they're here and how they might manage their own study at home, and being aware of the variety of revision and work strategies there are out there that we will be using in school, but you as parents can support children with as well. So I'll pass on to Mr. Rolt. At the end of the presentation, there'll be ample opportunity to answer questions. There is also the chat function as well, which is available. Please do use that. I will manage the chat function and try My hardest to answer any questions. If there are any questions that are specific to your own children, please do email heads of year. We'll share their email addresses at the end of this presentation, or contact myself and Mr. Rolt.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lockhart. So I'm going to start to go through the qualifications that the students are doing at the moment and what that means for colleges. So, you know, we're looking at Key Stage 4. So all of your students are taking GCSEs or BTECs. A pass, level 2 pass at the BTEC and a grade 4 or above in the GCSE counts as a level 2 qualification. Colleges, if the students get 5 GCSEs or equivalent at that level 2 pass or grade 4 or above, including English and maths, and that is either English literature or English language, will then count that student as passing at level 2. Now, that does make a difference for the types of qualification that students can get onto, and when you know, if your child is in year 11 at the moment, after half term, that's where the interviews will start to happen, and the colleges will start looking at those predicted grades and will start making offers about the types of courses that they are going to advise that your child applies for, or they will allow them to come on to next year. And so if they have a level 2 qualification, a set of 5 GCSEs or level 2 BTECs at grade 4 or level 2 pass or above, then the next step is logically to go on to a level 3 course. So level 3 courses are A levels and advanced BTECs. Level 2 courses are equivalent to GCSEs. And so for those students who get those the qualifications at the end of this year, then taking level 3 courses in year 12 means 2 years at college, and then they can progress to university or a further education establishment. So, you know, as students go through and get more qualifications, generally on average, and we know, you know, it's not going to be the same for absolutely everything, but generally, as you go higher through qualifications, the average potential career earnings increase. So in terms of level 3 courses, the types of level 3 course that there are in terms of academic, they're AS and A level, although the AS levels now are not generally taught at college, because they with all the changes that happened over the last however many years, the A levels have been decoupled from them. So the AS used to actually feed into the A level, and now it doesn't. So they are 2 separate courses. So the A2 level, the A level, is the level 3 course. That gives access to university courses and honour degrees, and are is one of the main routes into higher education. It's also useful if you want to go straight into a job such as office administration or trainee accountancy. The other type of level 3 courses are vocational courses, and vocational means learning by doing it, and these courses tend to be specific towards certain careers and specific careers, and qualify students for those careers. They still do give access to university courses. Sometimes, though, that is a foundation degree, which is a degree without honour, which doesn't carry the honours. So once you go beyond a level 3 course, foundation degrees are sort of, I think they're level 4 or 5, and then an honours degree is, I think, the level above that, and then masters and PhDs are the next levels up. So, but what vocational qualifications do is they get you the skills that are needed to start a specific job, and they provide the qualifications to progress into careers. And then alongside that, very often students or adults will do this, they'll work and will still then be able to do further learning to move themselves through the career that they have gone on into. So because we aim for all students to get and gain level 2, what we would hope is that students, when they move on from us, are looking at the highest level of course that they can get onto based on their predicted grades. We do know, however, that not all students are going to get 5 GCSEs or equivalent, not at grade 4 and above. Not all students are going to get English and maths at grade 4 or above. So what the colleges do is they do provide sometimes a mix of courses at different levels, and they will also provide level 2 or even level 1 courses for students. So for our students, most of our students will either go to Reigate College or East Surrey College. We are a partner school for those colleges, with those colleges, which means that alongside Reigate, Oakwood and De Stafford, our students get priority entrance into them, and they are oversubscribed. And both of them have got very good reputations, not just locally, but also nationally. The other thing about them is they have set themselves up so that between the two colleges, they cover virtually all courses and types of courses that students leaving school will want to do. So Reigate College tends to be the more academic and East Surrey College the more vocational, but they all provide level 3 courses. They all have the links with employers. They both have the links with employers. They both provide opportunities for post-college and getting into a career or further education. Sometimes students don't want to necessarily go to Reigate College or East Surrey College, so we would advise that students do have a look at other places. Sometimes because those colleges are very big. I think they've got a minimum of 2,000 students, and I think they're growing and getting bigger. So sometimes that's too big for students, and so they might want to look at some of the schools such as St Bede's and RAA. RAA also do a leadership scholarship, which for our prefects or our senior prefects, sometimes they will want to do that. RAA also do equine studies, for example. Oxted also have a 6th form and are a school, and for some of our students actually travelling across to Oxted is easier than potentially coming back into Reigate. Nescott is specific for, it's not necessarily specific for agriculture, but it does have agriculture and horticulture as well as a number of vocational subjects. There's Croydon College, Collier's in Horsham, the Brit School, and I think what I've not got in there is Crawley College, which has got a good reputation for catering, and Merest Wood, which in Guildford, and then the ACM, which has got also in Guildford, I think, and that is music specialist. So depending on what students want to do, there are a number of different colleges in the local and in the sort of like the wider area, and really your child, if you're in year 11, their deadline for Reigate and East Surrey College is Friday for the application. However, if your child is in year 10, then really starting now to think about what they might want to do and looking at what the options are is important. What the other thing as well with it is the entry requirements for Reigate College to do all A levels may well be different to Collier's College or St Bede's or RAA. So it might be that a student would want to go to or would apply for a different school to do A levels because the entry requirements might be slightly different, and that might actually help to remove some pressure. If the student knows that they've got a place which needs slightly lower grades from GCSEs, that might remove a bit of pressure going into year 11. So it's well worth having a look at what's around and applying for as many as that your child actually wants to apply for, because in reality the only important grades come when the GCSEs are given out in August. And even if you apply to a college and you are accepted, and you apply to 2 or 3 colleges and are accepted, in August, when you've got those GCSE results, that's when you have to then decide where you want to go and you accept the place. So you can apply and be accepted in more than one college, and it's not until August of year 11 when that final decision has to be made. So looking specifically at the different colleges, there's different entry requirements. I'll start with East Surrey College, and I mentioned this is more vocationally based, so it has a lot more BTECs and vocational qualifications. It also does cater for entry and level 1 students. And I mentioned earlier about students should aim for level 3 courses. However, subjects such as the trades and such as hairdressing, plumbing, construction, etc., we don't do them at schools. So even if students get the 4 or 5 GCSEs at grade 4 to 9, including English and maths, they may well start on level 1, because if they choose something like plumbing, for example, because they don't have any experience in it. However, those qualifications that they do have will mean that they can move through the levels quicker, and so that by the time they get to the end of the 2 years, they will have completed they will aim to have completed the level 3 BTEC in that course. For Reigate College, they work on, it used to be an average point score, and now they have gone for mostly. They use that word mostly. So when if your child is now in year 11 and you've just got the predicted grades, have a look at those predicted grades, because they're the grades that are going onto the application form. And with those predicted grades, if the child is getting, or the student is getting mostly grades 6 to 7, then they will be able to apply and accept if they get those grades at the end of the 2 years, or at the end of the GCSEs, they'll be able to take 3 A levels. If they're mostly grades 5 to 6, then Reigate do what's called a mix and match course, and that will be 3 level 3 subjects, but one of them may well be will be a BTEC instead of 3 A levels. And if they are mainly 4 to 5, then they'll be able to take 1 A level with the equivalent of 2 other level 3 courses. The intermediate program is for the students who don't get the 5 grade 4 plus GCSEs. So depending on what the students get at the end of the GCSEs is what level of courses and what combination of courses students can take. The implications for that is that students can't just concentrate only on one subject that they're good at and they want to do at college. They actually have to get a good set of grades, because the admissions tutors in both colleges will be looking at their overall grades, and they will be looking at their averages and looking at, what are you getting, what sorts of grade are you mostly. And then they will also look at the English and maths, because if a student doesn't get a grade 4 or above in English language or literature or in maths, then they have to retake that at college. And so that may well make a difference on the different subjects or the number of subjects or the combination of subjects that the child can take. So, you know, there are implications in terms of those admissions requirements from the colleges, which means that students have to know from, you know, as they're planning what they want to do, they've got to be realistic about the grades that they're getting, the grades that they're going to be predicted. Once we get into year 11, we start giving them those grades, and you know, thinking reasonably early on about making sure that at school, in class, in their homework, in their revision, they are working to get the grades that matches their potential. Now, all of those entry requirements are available on the Reigate and East Surrey websites. So, you know, if you're a parent of year 11, your child has now got the mock exams 2 weeks after half term. Those mock exams are going to take place. If you're a parent of year 10, your child will have one mock exam in RE, because they are going to take the GCSE RE at the end of this year. So it's now that pupils who do well start to show the characteristics as to why they're doing well. And basically, you know, the teachers and the lessons will cover the curriculum, but the GCSEs and the government have confirmed this for this year's year 11, that they are going to take GCSEs and they are going to use the old style of grading, but they're going to make that the numbers that get certain grades between 2019 and 2020. Now, what that means in reality is that everybody is going into a competition with the rest of the country. And irrespective of the number of marks a student gets on a paper, what the exam boards then do is they look at the percentages who've got that and take the top, say, 2 to 3%. It might be close to 4 to 5% this year, and they give them a 9. And then they take the next certain amount of percent of the country and give them an 8, and then they do the next and give them a 7. So, you know, grade 7 is likely to be somewhere between 22 to 26% of the country, and they do that, and so on. So the students are, you know, need to get as many marks as possible on each of their exam papers, and basically, the students who do well are self-motivated to work outside of the lessons. They develop resilience because they are going to be challenged. They are going to find things hard. These new the GCSEs, the 9-to-1 GCSEs, are deliberately designed to differentiate between students at the highest level for colleges and sometimes for universities. So, and they're specifically designed for students to move from GCSE into A-level. So they're not meant to be easy. They're deliberately designed for that. What that does mean for students is that they are often put under pressure. They are often challenged. They often think, I can't do this. What it means in terms of exam papers is that sometimes very low scores, or what we would feel are very low scores, actually get reasonable grades. So, for example, on a higher tier maths paper, 20% got a grade 4 because that paper is so hard. So in reality, some students are going to get more wrong on some papers than they get right, and are still going to get the grade that they are aiming for. So there's a mindset there that students need to develop, to actually think, because sometimes when you've got the pressure of the exams and you're in an exam hall, and you get the first question wrong, or you don't know it, students think, oh no, it's all going wrong, and they don't do as well as they should do because of how they then cope with that pressure. So that resilience is really important. Organisation is important. Being independent workers is important. Starting to plan, if they're in year 11, they plan their revision now and their work through to the mock exams, and then they carry on and they plan through to the GCSEs, because the mock exams will give us an idea of where the students are, but the GCSEs are the main goal. So they've got until May and June to actually get to their peak, to make sure that they know, if they know what's coming up. They have practice of the exams, which we will give through mock exams and assessments. The teachers will support them, and so that by the time they get to those final GCSEs, they've built enough knowledge, understanding, and can cope with the pressure to be able to get their potential. So as a parent, basically you are the one that is going to get the brunt of all that pressure. You are the one that will get the grumpy teenager who has not just sees this whole load of work that they have to do, and very often, even it doesn't matter what sort of grade the students are aiming for, many of them will feel that they're not going to get that grade. Many of them will feel that they've just got too much. And there are going to be times when they're going to, basically, they'll take it out on you. They will try to withdraw. They'll try to just say, I can't do it. And you are their support. And sometimes you are their voice of reason. And sometimes you're the person that can actually say, right, let's stop. Let's think what's important now. Break it up. You can do 20 minutes here on this particular subject. Forget about everything else. And sometimes you might have to be the homeschool link. So if I gave work at short notice alongside other subjects, for example, it may be that you'd email and say, well, look, right, Mr. Roll, please can my child have an extra bit of deadline, because they're really struggling, they're really swamped, they've got all these different deadlines. These ones are more important because they are going towards their portfolio, or they've got their exam coming up, or they've got an assessment coming up. So you can help to potentially support your child with what's important, break things up for them, but also at times let the teachers know the pressure that they're under. Okay, or if they don't understand it, email the teachers on their behalf and say, please, can you speak to my child, because they really don't understand it, they're finding it hard, please can you support them. Okay, so you can be that homeschool link. At home, please provide a suitable working environment for them. All of the homework goes on to Go for Schools. Okay, so please remind your child to just check Go for Schools regularly. They need to have the right equipment. They need to have the materials that will help them to succeed. Talk to them about their work. If they bring their books back, which hopefully they will do, particularly when they've got assessments coming up, just check the marking, check the feedback, speak to your child. Do you understand what your teacher is saying? Okay, so even if you did the topics 20+ years ago, and you think, actually, I don't know how to do that, I've forgotten that subject. Actually helping them get organised and helping them understand what they need to do, and then checking with the teachers will help your child. And outside of the pressure, okay, when your child is making a revision timetable, please don't let them give everything up. So if they do football, netball, music, acting clubs out of school, if they have a Saturday job, etc., let them do that, because that is a release from the pressure. And the natural thing when the pressure builds is for students and children to think, oh, everything builds up on them and they want to give everything else up. But that actually, doing activities that are enjoyable, doing activities that give a change and a break, will actually help them do better, if it's done in the right balance. And then check the school reports for year 11. The predicted grade report came out for year 10s. The first report will be out on November the 10th. So, and if you have any concerns at all, contact teachers at the school. Okay, and and challenge and ask, why are the grades like that? Is it something you need to worry about, and what is it you can do to support your child? So for year 11s, the mock exams timetable came out to the students last week. It starts on Monday the 8th of November, and Miss Loughran sent it out to parents today. So it's on a Word document so that you can delete everything that your child doesn't do, or your child can delete everything they don't do. If your child is year 10, the RE, the philosophy and ethics mock exam, is on the first Friday after half term. And what for year 11 parents, the teachers have been asked to bear in mind that the students are going to be doing these mock exams. It's because of COVID. This is the first time since, I reckon it was about year 8, it may even have been year 7, that they will have been into an exam hall and done a proper formal exam. So the end of year exams in year 7 or 8 was the last time. It's been a long time. So they're out of practice and have less practice than previous year groups will have done. But remembering that we are in a competition against the rest of the country, it's going to be the same for students nationwide. But the teachers have been asked to just cut down on the homework, and so homework now for year 11 students should either be portfolio based for things like art and BTECs, or specifically revision based, so that it supports directly towards the mock exams. And then for that week after half term, I'll email the year 10 teachers to also remind them that the year 10s have got an exam, a mock exam at the end of that week. So just to please bear that in mind when they are setting work for them, so that they're not piling on too much pressure. It runs for 2 weeks, and from that we will have an idea of exactly where the students are now. After the results, the teachers will analyse those results and will build in the weaker areas into their teaching through the rest of the course. The course will be finished, and I think a lot of subjects will aim to finish the course somewhere between February and Easter, and then they will also be able to bring in those weaker areas into the revision prior to the real exam starting. In March, the year 11s will also have a second mock exam in English, maths and science. So in terms of students, again, because of how COVID has affected assessments and teaching over the last couple of years now. You know, the students haven't had, this will be that first set of exams where there's loads of exams, one after the other, and they've got to revise large chunks of work and large amounts of work all in one go. So, you know, after half term, we have put some PD lessons by for looking at time management and revision techniques. What we tend to do with revision techniques is just keep it simple. So we will go through with students about flashcards. Flashcards are just little cards, so you can actually you can go into shops like the Works and they do them quite cheaply, or you can just cut up pieces of card and they can go into the pocket and they just have key reminders or questions with answers on the back or quick diagrams that just help students recall the key points to do with the subject. And so, you know, we choose this as one of the main revision techniques to pass to students because it can be used in virtually every subject. Mnemonics is where we can actually use words. So, for example, one that's not up there, Richard of York gave battle in vain. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, the order of light and the order of light in the rainbow. So it's looking at just using certain, getting sentences, using languages or words or specific words to help remember things. I think Dan Walker on Strictly the other night was doing very silly things with his hands and to remember the choreography. That's a form of mnemonic, not written down, but you know, he was using that visually to actually be able to remember his choreography. And so it's the same thing. Mnemonics are using words, languages, phrases, poems, to be able to remember certain orders of things or to remember key points within subjects or topics. Mind mapping is the other one that we do in terms of something that can be used across a number of different subjects, and this is where the key points are linked together so that students, when they're revising, you know, when they look at the mind map, the detail that they've read gets triggered from the key points that they've linked together. And you can see from the screen, you know, you can color code things. You know, you can use, say, different shapes of bubble, but the key thing is that things are linked together to actually be able to, when a student then looks at that mind map after they've done the detailed revision, those key points help them to put everything together and to remember what they have revised. And then through the courses, teachers will use past paper exam questions, they will use past paper questions, they will use quizzes, and even, you know, in year 987, students will be exposed to GCSE style questioning. But, you know, you can actually access some of those as well on the GCSE on the exam board websites, and so particularly once the student gets closer to the final exams and they've done their revision, they've got their knowledge, using past papers on particular topics or just going through past papers, and then looking at the mark schemes, learning the mark schemes, learning what examiners give marks for, making sure they've got the sort of key phrases that examiners are looking for, that actually, you know, because an examiner will have about 1,000 papers to mark. So really, you know, being able to signpost that you know what you're doing, you know the answer, helps to force examiners to give students the mark. And so particularly as they get closer to the real exams, looking at those past papers, looking at those mark schemes and knowing them and knowing how to answer exams and having that exam technique is really important. Now, of course, that will, you know, mock exams are part of that, and also end of unit tests and then of unit assessment and the ongoing assessment that teachers will do. But you can also get those the past papers off exam board websites. So, for example, in science, you know, there's a large amount of content and vocabulary. So science are providing exam questions regularly. They have a learning app called Tasmai, which it's also available for maths as well, and I believe it's available for English literature, and that actually helps with knowledge. So if students are regularly doing Tasmai in the core subjects, then it helps them build up their knowledge so that things like exam skills can be worked on in lessons. They don't have to learn the content as often, okay? And then science, for example, are you know, they support the use of revision cards, they support the use of workbooks, and then also all GCSE students, and again what we will do with them after half term as part of the series of revision lessons, they have something called GCSE pod, which for every GCSE subject has a series of audio pods that they can listen to on the bus on the way to work, or as they're on the way to work, on the way to school, or as they're walking to school, and they can revise through it. What they can also do is they could use that is for every single topic in every single GCSE, they could use it to support their homework, for example, or if they are doing past paper exam questions and they're stuck, they can then go to the GCSE pod and they can actually go through that and then see if it helps them with the exam question. So there, you know, there are a variety of different things there that science are using specifically in terms of revision. Support is available in 210, room 210 on Tuesday, and 203 on Wednesday lunchtimes. So just as a recap, okay, you know, students through GCSE, because the year 10 students are going to feel the pressure from RE, but you know, it's a big jump from year 9 into year 10. It's a big jump into that GCSE, and actually what happens to you know, from there, the expectations on them, and the closer they get to the end of those GCSEs, the more real it becomes, you know, that having to apply to the colleges, it makes it real, the interviews after half term and the mock exams. So everything will start to build up. So, you know, making sure that they've got a full set of notes, or they know, you know, GCSE pod is a full set of notes. A revision guide is a full set of notes. So they know where to get the information when they need it. They plan their revision and they plan their work, because the work does build up and it can become stressful. So early on, you know, for the year 10s, actually having this mock exam and to be able to identify what works in terms of revision, what doesn't, because some people will prefer flashcards, some people will just like to do questions, some people like to do notes, some people like to do mind maps, and not everybody likes the same thing, and not everybody finds the same thing as useful. The one thing that I would say is make it active, because And even taking notes down, if a student just copies word for word, they're not necessarily thinking about it. So changing what's on the screen or what's in the book to what they write down means they've got to think about it, and it means that that helps with their understanding. And then, and so to build up those independent learning skills and to encourage them to do that. So ensure they've got that good working area, provide them with tea and refreshments, and support them, and particularly when they're really grumpy to us, but it's because of the pressure. We're the ones who take the brunt of that very often as parents, and we what we need to do is just break it down for them and say, look, you can do this. This is what's important now. I'll bring you a cup of tea. Give it 20 minutes. If you want help, I'll come and help you read it through and see if the instructions are there. Okay. If you do have any questions or issues, you can always contact me or the teachers at the school to give support, because as teachers, we are really a resource that you can use to help support your student towards their goals. Thank you very much, everyone. Mr. Lockhart's just going to finish off.
So our expectations after half term moving forward is I realised that obviously with COVID there has been large amounts of absence, and particularly in our year 11 cohort it seems to have hit fairly hard. However, we really need children to be in school every day. Only by being in school will we be able to address those misconceptions and be able to answer questions and provide that support for children. So please do, when we get to coughs and colds sort of season, please do promote good attendance with the young people to get them into school. Correct school uniform. Obviously, there's been a lot of change here at Carrington with the different uniforms, and for some children, they've slipped between uniforms. We really need children to be wearing the correct Warwick School uniform if they are wearing and continuing to wear the Warwick School uniform, or to transfer over to what we call in the transition uniform. So if you're not going to, if blazers have been outgrown, please do replace with the Carrington jumper, which you can find all on our website, so that we've got good levels of uniform and the children are looking smart around the site. We need children to positively engage with their PD and mentoring sessions, as Mr. Rolt said there. We're going to be using these sessions quite heavily for the children in Key Stage 4 to make sure that they are learning revision techniques. So we need them to be in for these sessions, including their mentoring sessions, where they will have an academic mentor who will work through their grades with them and look at areas that they might improve and ways in which they can improve. And to support us and to support the children in having a can-do attitude towards their schoolwork. As Mr. Rolt has said, it's an incredibly challenging time for young people. School is all about learning, and learning comes with people making mistakes. So it can be a very challenging time, but we need to build that resilience amongst the cohorts to make sure that they know that they can do it. They are bright young people who've got all the support here from us and from you at home, and just promote that positive can-do attitude. Thank you so much for your time this evening, for giving up your time. We'll take some questions. If there are any questions, please do put them in the chat and we will answer them here together. If you have something that is pertinent to just your child, please do use the contacts on the screen, or use myself or Mr. Rolt to answer any questions. And we're always happy to engage with our parents. You'll find that most of the staff are always on their emails well into the evenings as well, while they're planning lessons and getting ready to support young people. So please do get in contact with us if there are any issues. So if there's no messages, I've got a couple of direct messages which we will respond to individually. But if there's no other questions, I wish you all a very good evening, a very nice half term with the young people. They've had an incredible start. It's been very difficult. We're mindful that for some children, they've lost nearly 2 years of regular education, and it's been an incredible sort of journey for them, and we're thankful for the work that they've put in, and for yourselves as parents as well. Well, there's a couple of questions come up. So is there a list of exam boards, and are there revision books available from the school?
So there is a list of exam boards. It's on the new website. There's I think it's in the learning area. I think what I'll have to do is have a quick check on the website later, and then when we put this presentation onto the website for people to go back to and send out the message, I'll include in the message where you can find all of the exam boards. But basically, for every single subject, there is basically the curriculum that we follow and the exam boards that those subjects go towards. The revision guides, with the new move, I'm not sure if we have got the shop up and running with them yet. And again, that is something that I will have to check. So I will have to put that into the email message when we get this presentation onto the website. What you can do is it's easy to go onto Amazon, etc., to get revision guides. The GCSE pod has everything for every GCSE as well, and all of our Key Stage 4 students have access to that. So you know, they will be able to, they can use that for revision.
Thank you very much. Comment there just about the new uniform. Yeah, we're fully aware that there are some issues there about the uniform. The things when we're talking about uniform, some children are coming in hoodies. There are no hoodies to be worn in school at all, apart from in dance lessons. There are a set of dance hoodies, and they are only for students in their dance lessons only. They shouldn't be worn around school. So we have varying degrees of some young people wearing their own clothes from time to time. So it is either the Warwick School uniform or the Carrington sort of transition uniform that we've done. If there are elements of uniform that are not available at the moment because we're waiting, we're absolutely fine with that. But please don't allow children just to come in effectively in their own stuff, as that it takes our time in the morning having difficult conversations with young people as they come through the gate and takes away from our learning time. I'll address the one about independent learning as well. There isn't really a set amount of independent learning. What I would say is that some disguised independent learning can be really, really useful. So if you find out what your child is studying and help to engage them in activities, maybe outside of just sitting in their room and looking on the internet for subjects, but if you're out and about and you go for family days out, you know, if children are doing history and stuff and geography, it's a good idea to engage them and use those skills that they're learning and sort of transfer them into different environments. That would be a really, really good way of getting children engaged in learning and not just sitting in their rooms. They will obviously have their homework, but you know, a few hours a week of independent learning in year 10 would be really good, and really getting them into the practice of knowing where they can find information if they need to. We're in a very sort of data rich world now. You know, we don't all have to trundle down to the library to get books out. There's a lot of information available online, and just providing those opportunities if you can, as Mr. Rolt says, giving young people the space maybe sometimes to be able to do that. I appreciate not everyone may be blessed with lots and lots of space in their houses, but giving ample opportunity to go to places where there are space, libraries and stuff like that would be really useful. So another question there, is there an opportunity to switch between higher and lower papers in science, and when would the cut-off date for this be?
Yeah, so basically with exams, the entries go in February, so it is at that point in time that the science department will make their final decisions, and so they will use evidence from mock exams for that. It's going to be slightly harder this year to understand where the grade boundaries are going to be, because the grading is going to be somewhere between 2019 and 2020, which means it's going to be it's going to be easier to get a higher grade than it was in 2019. And so there are students who will have had a target grade of a 5 based on 2019 results, who may well now have a target grade of a 6. And that means that they may have been aiming for a standard paper and a grade 5 in a standard paper, but may now be trying higher papers. So the initial cut-off time, and it's up to the science department to use all the evidence they have, is that final entry in February. But they may well, even after that, where it has to happen, make a change, because we've got to make it the best choice for the student. The thing with that is that comes with late change fees, and the exam boards make quite a bit of difference from their normal fees by anything that happens after their deadline. So we try to avoid it, but we will do the best for the student.
So I think we're out of questions there. So as I said, we will respond to direct messages after this presentation. But thank you again for your time this evening. We wish you a pleasant and restful half term, and the students too. And we look forward to seeing you very soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.